Greetings, I'm Anthony, one half of the Printy Brothers. Together, Sean and I have decided to print and paint every monster in the 5e Monster Manual. Today, I'm going to be painting the Bulette, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about its history and its creation as I paint it up. So this model is from Rescale Miniatures on my mini factory. I really like this sculpt. I like the way the monster is almost breaking the fourth wall by gripping the edges of its base, and it looks pretty similar to its appearance in the Monster Manual. Alright, so while I get to painting, let's discuss one pretty important thing first. How do you pronounce the Bulette? I've always said Bulette, but I've heard a few other things as well. But there is definitely a definitive answer. In Dragon Magazine 1, the first issue, which we'll talk about more in a second because it is the first appearance of the Bulette, it says that the Bulette is actually pronounced Boulette. So there you have it. Boulette. 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 Definitely sounds weird to me, so I'm gonna keep pronouncing it Bulette. But let me know how you pronounce it. I think any way is fine. I mean, we've got Han, we've got Han. It's your own D&D world, nobody really cares. Well, some people probably do, but ignore them. If only it had been in the D&D movie and someone had actually said its name, but alas. So the Bulette first appeared in Dragon Magazine number 1 in 1976, as we talked about earlier, and later it appeared again in 1977's Monster Manual. And the origin of the Bulette's creation is actually pretty interesting. It was created by Tim Kask. I think I'll let him speak on it because he's got a few interesting things to say. Here's a quote from Tim. Gary and I had had several talks about creating monsters, and he had frequently encouraged me to let my imagination run wild. The Umber Hulk and the Rust Monster were fabrications by Gary to explain two plastic monsters from a bag of weird critters from the dime store that Gary had found and used in Greyhawk. There was still one that had not been defined yet that intrigued me. They called it the Bulette. I frogged up the name a bit. At the same time, SNL was hitting its stride and had become a cultural phenomenon. And the Jaws movies were just hitting their stride, and SNL ran with the land shark parody. My excursive mind hooked them together as I imagined what a real land shark might be. I had probably been watching a PBS program about moles or armadillos. Pretty interesting story, right? Just inspired by toys. It'd be pretty fun to go to the store and find some monsters and try to make minias of it today. Maybe that'll be a video down the line. Let us know if you'd want to see that. So in Dragon Magazine number 1, the Bulette is described as a mix between an armadillo and a snapping turtle. They are said to eat nearly anything and are very rare creatures. It also says here that they are never found underground, which I found interesting as in today's D&D, burrowing is one of its key abilities. There's a section in the 5e Monster Manual called Underground Hunters. One thing that has stayed consistent throughout the years, though, is its affinity for eating halflings. In Dragon Magazine, it says, quote, "They will not hesitate to attack and eat humans, though they are not overly fond of dwarves. They are loath to come near elves alive or dead, but prize hobbits second only to horseflesh. They have been known to dig hobbits right out of their burrows," unquote. And in the 5e Monster Manual, it says, quote, "These creatures dislike dwarf and elf flesh, although they often kill them before realizing what they are. A Bulette loves halfling meat the most, and it is never happier than when chasing plump halflings across an open field," unquote. I just found it pretty interesting comparing the similarities and differences between the creature across 40-ish odd years. Now in 5e, the Bulette's stat block is pretty simple with one interesting ability. It's a CR5 monster and has a deadly leap where it can jump and land on players to potentially deal damage and knock them prone. Pretty simple, but pretty cool too. Now as far as my paint job of this guy, it's extremely simple. I just started black and slowly built up some blues and purples. I've really been moving away from washes and dry brushing in my painting style lately and going for more of a hand-painted brushstroke type style. And I'm liking that a lot. And I was able to fully paint this guy up pretty quick, and it was a fun one. And that's really the whole point in painting models, right? To have fun. I mean, that's the whole reason we're doing this series. It's the whole reason we're making videos to begin with. Because it's fun, and we love doing it. So let's take a look at the final model. I'm pretty happy with this one. I think it turned out pretty solid, and it was really interesting to learn some of the creature's history. Next week, Sean is painting the Bullywug, which is the last of the bee monsters. So stay tuned for that, and get ready to dive into the seas. Thanks for watching.